All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I just wanted to kind of reflect upon the video I'd posted yesterday. I was predicting that rate cuts were probably coming, and I was saying that rate cuts are often correlated with a bear market. Okay, so what I did was, and like I said yesterday, I said my guess for the trick they would do, it was actually correct. So clearly I know a little thing or two about this market, but I said at 2 p.m. the interest rate decision is going to come out. The market's going to pump up. They're going to bait in longs, and then it's going to sell off. And basically implying that it's not going to exceed the high of the pump from 2 p.m. So once price got about halfway up this wick right here, I bought SQQQ at $8.07. So if you want to see what that looks like, I basically bought right here. So I bought right here during this this pump on the NASDAQ, saying, okay, it's probably not going to exceed the high of the candle. If it exceeded the high, I probably would have stopped out. And so I'm up about 4% or so already on the position because it's SQQQ. The reason I'm not doing it on futures is because I don't like. I don't want to. It's a long-term position, so I'm not going to hold a futures contract overnight and have to pay maintenance margin for that. So that's why I did that. And now obviously my gains will be smaller on shares of SQQQ, but it's also, I don't have to pay any margin for it. So, yeah, anyways, let's talk about the argument for and against a bear market. The argument for, it basically boils down to rate cuts are highly correlated with recessions. Okay, every major recession that occurred in the past 100 years, even more, interest rates were in the process of being cut or started getting cut, and it seemed to fuel a recession. Somehow, with all the debt, the way that debt causes inflation and pumps up the price of the NASDAQ, something about lowering rates, maybe lending goes down, stuff like that. If lending goes down, there's less debt being created that won't get paid off eventually. Meaning that it's money that gets created that will never be destroyed, because with banking, when you lend money, you create a credit, so you create money out of thin air. But the reason that's made quote unquote okay is because when the debt gets repaid, when they pay back the loan or the credit, it becomes a debit and it will balance it back out and it will destroy that money back down to zero. So technically it's okay, quote unquote, to create money as long as people are going to pay the debt off. The problem is that a lot of people default on their debt, meaning that it doesn't get paid off and it gets written off. And then basically, in a roundabout way, eventually the government ends up printing money to pay back that debit or pay back that credit with a debit. But the thing is they basically create money out of thin air to pay off the debt that was created out of thin air. And so on the books, it looks good because now the debt's paid off that people defaulted on. However, if they had to increase the currency supply accordingly to pay off that debt, it effectively did nothing because you just inflated the currency by the amount that would pay off the debt, which basically negates the paying off of the debt, and basically you did nothing. Okay, so anyway, if that doesn't make sense to you, I apologize, but that's the best I can really explain it. But anyway, something about interest rates being cut is disinflationary. Perhaps even a little bit deflationary in extreme cases, but mostly I would just say a bit disinflationary. But slowing down the rate of inflation a lot is definitely enough to crash the market. And so yeah, and then so the one thing that really makes me hesitant about a market crash though is that it already just had a crash. And you might be not thinking that the 2022 recession, the bear market here, was a big deal. Let me tell you, this was a huge freaking deal. Let me tell you how big of a deal this is. The decline from the high to the low that this NASDAQ had during the 2022 bear market, on the NASDAQ specifically, this decline was bigger than the 2008 financial crisis. This decline is smaller as a percentage from the high to the low of the asset. This bear market was smaller than this one. Now, obviously, the dot-com bust was bigger. This is like the biggest crash ever. I think it lost like 80% of its value. Okay, that's crazy. But again, that tech stocks were, a lot of them were fairly new, and so they kind of became a pump and dump. But then the companies actually ended up working out with the whole, the creation of the internet and all that. But it took a long time for it to play out because then there was another bear market. But anyway, disregarding the dot-com bust, because that was, all these stocks were so young that they were more like micro cap, small cap, mid cap stocks that, could encounter huge drawdowns of 80%. Now that they're mega caps, they don't usually see that kind of drawdown, but they will see big drawdowns. And I'm just, again, this recession in 2022 was bigger than this one for NASDAQ. And so we already had a big recession then where this asset lost 35% of its value. This was a 35% drop from high to low recession. So we already had one recently, and recessions tend not to occur, twice really in 10 years, or, sometimes at the tail end of 10 years. But certainly, 2 years after the last bear market low, you wouldn't expect to see another recession that soon. However, like I said, the rate cuts to me are enough to make a bearish argument. So that's why I bought SQQQ. I normally wouldn't short this asset, but I really do think that potentially there could be a minor or even a major bear market over the next 6 to 9 months, even a year. So if you are a bull like me, I'm a perma bull on this, but there are periods of time where if you can time the market, knowing when a recession is, you can increase your gains exponentially to the long side by waiting for a bear market to get near its lows before you start going long again. So, and you can also even be a hog and try to catch some of it to the short side too, which sounds really greedy, but the NASDAQ doesn't move that fast in terms of like its major movements. It takes like 6 to 9 months for like a bear market to play out, right? So I'd say you have plenty of time to start getting in short if you want to, and try to ride this bear market. Now, not financial advice. Do your own, trade at your own risk. And here I've provided arguments for both sides. So I'm not telling you necessarily one or the other. That's your choice. But I'm telling you my choice right now is to short this. So, trade at your own risk. But and coming from the perma bull, but I think that there's a short opportunity coming right now. Like it just happened today. The short opportunity is here, and this is as good a time as any if you are going to want to short the NASDAQ. Okay, could be wrong. Could end up being a bull market continuously. Before the next bear market in 2028. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna crash. So anyway, take care, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Come back with an update, and we'll see where the market started heading by my next video. So all right, take care, guys.